Hello, hello, guys. This is Mr. Judge. Now, there's a bit of controversy surfing around the internet, and it has to do with the new movie that came out not recently, but not too long ago, called Get Out. Now, the controversy stems from people arguing whether it's racist or not. Now, in my opinion, the judge, already believe that it is technically racist when you think about it. The whole plot is basically one black guy going with his girlfriend, with his white girlfriend, to a family in a community where dominated by whites. There's hardly any blacks, and the ones that are there, other than him, are pretty much brainwashed into acting like whites. So, on one hand, I do believe it's racist. On the other hand, I do also have to point out, as my duty as a judge, that it is a movie. So, while it is racist, and I do sympathize with people getting upset about it, we also can't forget that it is a movie and can't take it too seriously. But as being a judge, I will be fair and let a person you're about to see in a podcast named Devin try to explain this. Yes.
Devin here, and welcome to Indigo Born 5 Minute Podcast segment, which is basically just a little segment of what our podcast is. This segment is dedicated to anything that's pop culture, news related, and in this week's news we have a movie that came out called Get Out, directed by Jordan Peele, and yeah, we're just gonna talk about that. There's some controversy with it, and I think it's a subject that's worth talking about. So, just to start out, um, you know, obviously, what kind of opinion podcast person would I be if I haven't seen the movie yet? So I went out and saw the movie. Insert picture here. We had a great time. In my opinion, the movie was awesome. Gave it a 9 out of 10. I think it's a modern day classic. Definitely appropriate for the times that we're living in right now. In some instances, and
Definitely appropriate for the times that we are living in. Yes, So, Devin, would you mind explaining to me where it is that these supposed events certainly happen today? Because maybe in the 1950s and 60s, if they made a movie like this, which obviously they couldn't, but let's say if they did, and they made it to where all the whites were against the blacks, I can perfectly say, yeah, it would be appropriate. But given the Emancipation Proclamation, the equality in economically, socially, and legally, I don't see how this could be this type of behavior that you see portrayed in the movie, where a whole community controlled by whites and brainwashing blacks and that type of fictional behavior actually happening. So for you to say that is appropriate for the times that we are living in, I'd have to demand where's your evidence? Next.
so the idea behind this movie, obviously Jordan Peele was the director of the movie, and he has some words to say. He says it better than I do. Insert clip here. Let's just take a listen to it.
I think of it as a social thriller, right? The fear and the horror and the monster in this movie is something that happens between people. It's a collective monster here.
So as you can see, he has no malicious intent behind it. The idea of the movie is to be this social horror movie that has a progressive message to it, and that pushes, the idea that racism still does exist, but in a very different way than what it used to be. Sort of like typically people can be racist.
So we've established it's a horror movie. Well done. We've established that it's a thriller movie. Well done. The point I think you're missing is the fact that when you make a movie, that makes a specific type of person based on race, skin color, whatever, is incredibly offensive, and therefore, when such a movie comes out, it is obviously going to be called racist in drama, regardless if, you know, the director or whoever is making the film or who even came up with the film is upset or thought, had no malicious intent. It doesn't matter if they had a malicious intent or not. What matters is what the movie is about, what it shows in the movie, and its message. And so far, the movie, while again, I do state I understand that it's not meant to be taken seriously, just as he pointed out, and I do understand it's Hollywood. When you make a movie that is has one race pitted all the way against another, it is racist. It doesn't matter what the movie was intended to be. It doesn't matter what the intent the director had. It's still racist. Oh, now, don't get me wrong, guys. If you making a movie where a couple black guys are villains, or a couple white guys, or Hispanic, or Asian, or anybody is a villain, that's not racist. But if you paint an entire skin or nationality or race as evil in a movie, and have another one painted as good, obviously it is a racist movie. It doesn't matter what the movie is about. It doesn't matter what the director was thinking. So your only defense for the movie is it's a horror movie, it's fictional, and the director had no malicious intent so far. I'm sorry, as much as I can agree with you on those terms, it's still racist.
Typically, people can be racist without even knowing that they're racist. And it's also social commentary just on the complex relationship that, each ethnicity group has between one another, which I think is one of its strong suits. But at its core, it's very much so a horror. It's
People can be racist without even knowing it. Fair enough. That's called bigotry. Now, now the rest of what you just said, somehow a racist movie that is obviously white against black is somehow social commentary to explain the tensions between ethnicities. Well, a lot of times I've been hearing about people when they mention this movie or asking about if it's racist or not, they use the term, they for some reason involve Hispanics, yet no Hispanics are involved in the movie. It's just whites and blacks. So I kind of think you're committing fraud now because you say it explains difference in ethnicities, yet it only shows white and blacks. What about the Asians? What about the Hispanics? What are their feelings between these two? You've got to, if you're gonna say, oh, it explains like a spectrum or explains something, you have to include that involves ethnicity. You have to include all ethnicities, not just, oh well, it explains all ethnicities, but you're just lying at that point.
To be, social in a way, but also just really focused on the horror aspect. There's been controversy behind the idea of this being another propaganda movie, pushing an agenda from the left-wing liberals. This is where it gets a little bit political, and how, trying to paint the white man as, the evil guy. And it's totally not that. He even said it himself. He is of mixed race. He's half white, half black. and he grew up in his family with on the mostly white side of his family. He says so. I'll find it hard to believe that he would blatantly just put out.
Is this a propaganda movie? Without a doubt, because it's obviously propaganda meant to spark racial tensions between whites and blacks. There's already, it was racist. The movie itself is racist. There is already arguments over between whites and blacks over it being racist. So whether it's propaganda or not is without a doubt. Now, does it involve the left wing? Well, left wing liberals. Well, I can't definitely say all of them. In majority of black supremacists and racists and not racists in general, but a majority of black supremacists and anti-white groups generally side with the leftists or just outright identify as the leftist party themselves. So, while I'm not saying all of the leftist party, and I'm not saying the leftist party was involved in this movie, without a doubt there are leftists defending this movie. We can establish that. Now, to say if it establishes the movie tries to make it out as whites as the evil man, well, that's without a doubt. I mean, you're trying to deny this when all evil characters in the movies are white and the only good characters are black. I mean, come on. If this doesn't paint as all whites being evil, then you can't say there's no show that points there. Then you can't come complaining about movies making some minority characters look evil. If you're gonna say this doesn't make whites look evil, all right? So don't even try to deny it, buddy. I'll hold you in contempt.
That he would blatantly just put out this commentary degrading and promoting volatile, actions to be put on an entire race, especially a race that's a part of who he is. Moving on, the public's perception of this movie has been mostly positive, but has been hit or miss for some people, and it seems to be people saying that the movie is basically mass racism, that it is racist against white people. But again, this is social satire. It's not meant to be something as serious as that, though the message can typically be kind of serious. But my argument against that is basically people look back 10,000 plus movies, films in the Hollywood archive that paint minorities, more specifically blacks and Hispanics, to be the bad guys, drug addicts, gangsters, and overall just have violent tendencies. And, no one ever called racism whenever that was the case. So that's my argument against that. The movie is not meant to be racist. It is meant to provoke thought. It is meant to be entertaining overall, and is a solid horror or thriller movie at its core. Thank you guys for joining for this little 5-minute podcast. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and also stay tuned for more. This is like a little sneak peek. We have a long-form version.
So ultimately, you claim that it's not racist because of the fact that the movie director is half white, your personal belief that he wouldn't do this to people he was half related to, and you believe that your only argument that it's not racist is because when thousands of other movies had black people as evil or Hispanic people as evil and had other minorities painted as the main villain or evil or whatever, your argument, that's your only argument. Well, I'm afraid your argument is debunked because, yes, no one called it racist when the black guy was a main villain or Hispanic, whatever, yes. However, in said movies, None of them had it to where all blacks were evil. None of them had it to where all Hispanics were evil and the one white guy rose above them all and defeated them, like it shows in this particular movie. So your argument is debunked, you can't come up with any legal defense, and you have shown to be biased by already watching the movie and loving it, and are basically trying to deny its racist message with race-induced reasons yourself. So ultimately, your case of non-racism is dismissed. The movie is found guilty of racism, and have a good day, Mr. Whatever your name was. Now, as for the jury, like, comment, and subscribe. If you like my videos, provide me some decent comments so that I can make you even better videos. See you later. See you in the next case.